Joining us now from Beijing is Wang Lin. She's a fellow with the CBN Research Institute, a think tank on foreign affairs, international finance and global energy. With us from Athens is George Zogopoulos. He's a lecturer at the European Institute in Nice and the founder of the website chinaandgreece.com. From Islamabad, we're joined by Mustafa Saeed. He's the executive director of the Pakistan-China Institute. And joining us from Nairobi is aly-khan. He's the CEO of the investment advisory firm Rich Management Limited. Thanks to all of you for joining us. Wang Lin, let me start with you. There's been something of a boom in Chinese investments in global ports. Why this big investment right now, coming at a time when there's been a bit of a slowdown in emerging economies, as well as very uneven, erratic growth in advanced economies?
Yes. Thank you. Actually, in my understanding, building and investing more ports globally, either by China or the other international players, will be a good thing for the world economic growth, especially in this time we don't have very good economic growth world at now, because we know that investments in more ports globally will help to improve the efficiency of global shipping and also strengthen the global trade. And further, it will improve the connectivity of the world. And in terms of China's position, China is the largest trading partner of more than 100 countries and also the second largest economy in the world. China want to invest more ports globally by improve the efficiency of the trade and also the connectivity of the world. And with Chinese investment in the global ports, we will have a stronger economic growth in the mid and long term.
George, let's look at China's investments in Greece. China's COSCO Shipping Corporation now owns about 67% of the port of Piraeus in Greece. What's that done for the port itself and for the country's economy?
Thank you for inviting me. Yes, indeed, COSCO's investment in the port of Piraeus is critically important for both China and Greece. For China, it is important because it is part of the One Belt, One Road strategy. As far as Greece is concerned, it is important for two main reasons. The first one is that the country can show that it can practically carry out privatizations during the crisis. And secondly, it is highly important because China's investment can bring growth to the port of Piraeus. And this said, we need to say that the investment of COSCO in Piraeus should not be considered only as a transaction where the Greek state can receive a sort of amount of money, but also because it will bring more investments in Greece. COSCO, the Chinese company, is prepared to invest more in the port of Piraeus, and this is related to various sectors, including cruise, for example, logistics, and more importantly, sea prepare zones. And we have to see how the Chinese company will get on with the Greek state in order to proceed. And as a Greek citizen, I feel that the investment of China in the port of Piraeus can be a good beginning for Greece in order to attract more foreign investment and possibly get out of the crisis in the next years.
Right, Mustafa, in Pakistan, the Prime Minister there, Nawaz Sharif, he welcomed the first large shipment of Chinese goods through the renovated port of Gwadar in November. What's the significance of that for Pakistan?
Thank you, Anand, for having me. And yeah, that's a very important question because the cargo from Xinjiang to Gwadar is the first mass cargo which has arrived through the China-Pakistan economic corridor, which connects Kashgar, which is the border province of Gilgit-Baltistan in Pakistan, ultimately to Gwadar. And that shows that the route is now operational. And this has sort of inaugurated the route and is going to now make Gwadar a functional port as it is envisioned in the China's One Belt, One Road policy, as well as the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which you know is the pilot project of the One Belt, One Road, and also serves as the sort of cusp of the Maritime Silk Road, as the nerve center of the Maritime Silk Road. So this is indeed, I think, a very big accomplishment for not only China and Pakistan, but for the entire region, which will benefit from the One Belt, One Road policy. And that is why the Prime Minister himself, along with all political parties and the military leadership, as well as senior officials from China, inaugurated this very symbolic milestone of the land route and then subsequently the Gwadar port becoming operational.
aly-Khan, if we look at Kenya, the port of Mombasa there, it's been cited as a good example of how Chinese investment has helped the development of infrastructure in Africa. What advantages has the development of Mombasa brought to Kenya?
Mombasa has been our main port for, since independence. It is the gateway to this East African region, not only Kenya, but Tanzania, Uganda, and even up to the DRC. So it's clearly, the conduit point for East Africa. And if we're going to see that huge transfer of jobs that China and a lot of economists have been talking about out of China into Africa, Mombasa surely has to play a role. So I think the Chinese investment, whilst it hasn't been, the single most investment like it has been in Gwadar and it has been in some of the other places we were mentioning, there's much more competition. Japan has played a role. The UK is playing a role as well. China, of course, financed the railway, which is a $4 billion investment, which is connecting the port to these other countries that I was talking about. But if you think about it, this is, a major geopolitical play by China, an expansion. A lot of people were talking about the pivot, basically penning China in. The Gwadar port is one escape route. It's going to be very interesting to see how the new US regime under Donald Trump deals with this Chinese expansion and whether it's going to pursue the same path that President Obama was pursuing. But Kenya is a key part of the Chinese equation. We've seen significant investment into Kenya. Kenya is in a little bit of a mini competition with Tanzania. You will recall that President Xi Jinping's first visit to Africa, he actually visited Tanzania and made a very big promise around the Bagamoyo port, which is a small port in Tanzania. So Kenya's watching very warily to see where China will put its chips to work when it puts it in size.
Right, I want to get back to the role that Bagamoyo might play in China's investments in the future. But let me go back to Wong Lin in China. And Wong Lin, there's been a slight shift in how China's investments are being used in these ports. At one time, initially, the focus was on construction of these ports. But China is now getting involved in running these ports, in operations. We see that in Piraeus. How big a shift in strategy is that?
Yeah, and as my understanding is that China's engagement of global ports is transforming and updated. Yes, as you have mentioned that Chinese companies used to mainly involved in the construction of the domestic ports and also the global ports overseas. But now, besides construction, Chinese companies are engaging more in the investment and operation of the global ports. This is one transformation. And there are also other transformations and other new trends. That is, the first one is Chinese companies are investing, building, and operating the ports globally, not only in the South Asia, Southeast Asia, South Asia, Europe, and Africa, and even in Latin America. Chinese companies are engaging all the ports globally, almost in all the countries. And the second transformation is that Chinese companies now they are establishing more diverse partnerships, either with private partnerships in China or with the private partnership or the public partnership in the local community. Also, even in some cases, based on my studies and field work, the Chinese companies are also established a three-party cooperation with the UK partners, US partners, or French partners to develop the Africa ports or other ports in the world.
George, there was some controversy over China's investment in the port of Piraeus in Greece. How was that received in Greece itself, especially among the workers of Greece, dock workers, and among the community around Piraeus?
This is a very good question. Workers in the port are not positive towards the investment of COSCO. Nevertheless, this is not representative of what the Greek society believes. The Greek society believes that privatizations can help the Greek economy, And as long as COSCO will prove that it can give job positions to Greek citizens, then the image and the public diplomacy of the Chinese company will be further improved. What is highly important to highlight is that some of the workers in the port and some trade unions will lose some of their privileges, but this is what is happening with the private sector as long as it is developing. And I need to acknowledge that part of the poor quality of the Greek public sector in the past has been responsible for the deadlock of the Greek economy, and the investment of COSCO in Piraeus can be a good starting point in order to change the mentality, especially as far as the younger generation is concerned. Also, what is highly important for China is that it can benefit by its very good public image in Greece. Approximately 70–75% of Greek citizens believe and have a positive view about China and its investments in Greece, and this contradicts also the image of other foreign powers in the country. So as long as COSCO employs a good communication strategy and shows practically that it can contribute to Greece's growth, then I believe that both sides can be optimistic towards the future.
Mustafa, if we look at the development of the port of Gwadar, there appears to be some synergy going on here between China and Pakistan itself, because local authorities in Gwadar don't want to just develop the port. They want to turn this port into a hub for shipping, for tourism, for business, for trade. How do these two sides fit into that?
Anand, I think that it's a very organic process which is happening in Gwadar, and the mega investment which is coming as of now, I'll just name a few, is a special economic zone which will have manufacturing units with special tax holidays and tax exemptions for investors, predominantly Chinese. There's an international airport being built. There's a 600 megawatt power project, and there's a desalination plant for clean water, which is all part of CPEC, which is the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. So it's a multi-pronged investment. It includes fisheries, which will give the local fishermen better technology, better services, better boats to go out and fish, create more jobs. And then there's going to be clean water distribution throughout the Gwadar district, not only the Gwadar port. So there's many ancillary businesses which are mushrooming from the mega investment happening in Gwadar. And the Gwadar Development Authority, which I think you're referring to as the local administrative organization, is a part of the CPEC working group, which sits across the table with the Chinese government and collectively decides together in unison of what the upcoming projects for the CPEC should be and how the existing projects can be managed better. So there's, I think both the sides are on the same page, and the Gwadar people and the people of Balochistan have pinned a lot of hopes and expectations to this investment which is coming in, because this is historically an area which is very rich in resources, in minerals, is excellent geopolitical location, economic location, but it has suffered because of lack of strong economy in Pakistan and lack of developments.
Okay, we're going to have to take a break right now. More of our conversation about China's investments in global ports right after that. Stay with us. You're watching The Heat.